James is not,
Oh.
James is not with us, so.
Okay, so yeah, Jennifer, do you have any update on that?
I do not, but I can certainly find out and get back to the committee on that.
Great.
That'll be,
Mr. Chair, Brandy from Stone Mills is on the meeting. Don't know if she would have an update.
oh, is Brandy on, is she?
Yes, Brandy, can you?
Oh, yes, she is.
Hi there.
Hi.
No, I don't have an update at this time.
Okay, thank you. So Jennifer, we'll just follow up and
Yes, we'll do
Stone
that.
Mills will get an update. Yes, thanks for bringing that up. Any other errors, any errors or omissions in those minutes? None noted, all in favor? Carried, thank you. So item 1 on the agenda is a delegation. It's understanding the Prader-Willi, I believe I have that right, syndrome. So Jennifer, are you the presenter?
I am. Thank you so much.
Great. Well, thank you. We'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so I'm going to go through a deck. I have shared a PDF copy of the deck already, but I did notice a couple of small tweaks, so I will reshare a version of it after today. As I go along, well, I do know there's a question period at the end, but if anything comes to mind as I'm going along, please feel free to jump in. Or if you have any further clarifications required. So what I'm going to go through is information about what is PWS, how PWS is diagnosed, common characteristics that individuals with Prader-Willi syndrome have, an understanding of how Prader-Willi syndrome affects a relationship with food. We'll talk about behavior and mental health, treatment, the impact on caregivers, a little bit about the Ontario Prader-Willi Syndrome Association, and then we'll have the time for the Q&A. But before I go into all of this, I should introduce myself. My name is Jennifer Cohens. I'm the Executive Director with the Ontario Prader-Willi Syndrome Association, also known as OPWSA. I've been involved with the organization since 2015. And as I said, later on, we'll go into a little bit about who OPWSA is. So Prader-Willi syndrome, or PWS, is a genetic disorder that affects approximately 1 out of 15,000 to 30,000 births. It affects both males and females with equal frequency, and it affects all races and ethnicities. It's the leading cause of genetic childhood obesity, and it occurs because of an abnormality in a particular region of chromosome 15. Before I go further into PWS, has anyone heard of Prader-Willi syndrome before? Raise of hands or?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, excellent. We got one. So Prader-Willi syndrome is a dysfunction of a portion of the brain called the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus is a small endocrine organ that regulates a number of bodily functions. Most importantly for individuals with PWS is hunger, but it also impacts temperature regulation, pain regulation, emotions, fluid balance, fertility, puberty, etc. It affects a person's appetite, growth, metabolism, cognitive function, and behavior. And the hallmark characteristics of Prader-Willi syndrome are insatiable hunger and a slow metabolism that can lead to excessive obesity, excessive eating, and life-threatening obesity. So that insatiable hunger, I'll touch on a little bit later, but that is the key hallmark characteristic. So in regards to diagnosis, although not always, these days it is more common for babies with PWS to be diagnosed close to birth. Typically it's diagnosed because doctors will notice that the babies are quite floppy. So they have something called hypotonia, which is low muscle tone. They also do tend to have a poor sucking reflex. So their palates and their mouth aren't fully formed at birth, and therefore they're typically not able to feed properly. And a lot of times they require intranasal feeding tubes. And so when some of these characteristics are present, doctors will have that child go through genetic testing to see if there's some sort of underlying issue. So that's why these days it is much more common for babies to be diagnosed close to birth. However, there are still the occasional people that I hear from that didn't receive a diagnosis until later in life. Typically when they start to exhibit some of the characteristics and behaviors with respect to food. So before I go into the common characteristics with respect to Prader-Willi syndrome, I do want to highlight that like every other syndrome or disability, if it affects each individual differently. I like to consider it a spectrum disorder in that it's going to affect everyone differently. There's going to be a range of symptoms and outcomes. So just keep that in mind when we look at some of the common characteristics. So I've already mentioned that constant or that insatiable hunger. So the fancy word for that is hyperphagia. It means a constant drive for food. It can lead to rapid weight gain when paired with the slow metabolism. So individuals with PWS do have a slow metabolism that makes it very easy for them to gain weight. I already mentioned hypotonia, which is the fancy word to say low muscle tone, and individuals with PWS do tend to have delayed motor development. So they're typically slow to reach their developmental milestones like walking, talking, crawling, all those sorts of things. Individuals with PWS do tend to have a high pain tolerance. And this is, again, coming back to where we were talking about the hypothalamus regulating, pain, hunger, things like that. So I've heard stories of individuals with PWS walking around on a broken foot and not realizing, or having a fever and they're not expressing discomfort. You just might notice a little bit of a change in their behavior. Temperature regulation is also something they struggle with. So they may wear inappropriate clothing depending on the temperature outside. So dress in a winter coat on a hot summer day, or in a t-shirt on a cold winter day. Individuals with PWS are prone to gastrointestinal issues. So they have an increased risk of bowel blockages, gastroparesis, which is when the stomach stops working, as well as other GI issues. And for some reason, individuals with PWS rarely vomit. And if they do, it could be the sign of something life-threatening. Individuals with PWS are or do tend to be growth hormone deficient. So they do tend to be on a short, or have a short stature with small hands and feet. Babies and children with PWS these days do take growth hormone therapy. So they inject themselves with growth hormone every day to help them with their growth and their muscle tone. Individuals with PWS tend to have intellectual disabilities. It could be mild to moderate. It does affect their thinking, their reasoning, their processing, their problem solving. Speech is often delayed, as I mentioned earlier, but it can also last throughout their lives, that they may have poor articulation of words. Behavioral challenges are quite common in this population. Individuals with PWS can be stubborn, angry, controlling, manipulative. And a lot of the behavioral challenges that individuals with PWS experience are tied to that constant feeling of hunger. Mental health issues are quite prevalent in this population, and I will touch a little bit more on that later. But this includes anxiety. They tend to skin pick. They can be obsessive compulsive. They exhibit repetitive behaviors, and some individuals with PWS also go into psychosis. Perseveration is pretty common, so they get stuck on a particular topic and repetitive questions about the same topic. Sleep disorders are pretty common. So this includes obstructive sleep apnea, excessive daytime sleepiness. Dental issues are pretty prevalent. Individuals with PWS have a thicker saliva and decreased amount of saliva in their mouth. So it's harder for them to get rid of like all those particles after eating. And so it traps bacteria and it can lead to some more complicated dental issues. So frequent brushing is really encouraged with this population. Scoliosis is pretty common in this population, probably due to the low muscle tone. And strabismus is also pretty common, and that's where the eyes aren't coordinated and moving together. So I know that's a lot of characteristics. You know, as I said, the main thing that you'll likely, if you've heard of Prader-Willi syndrome, the thing you'll hear about is that the brain doesn't tell the stomach that it's full, but it does impact a number of different areas in an individual with PWS. So I'm going to go into a little bit more about the relationship with food. So individuals with PWS are on a very strict low-calorie diet in order to maintain a healthy body weight. Typically, that means they're on a diet of about 1,200 calories a day. And typical individual without Prader-Willi syndrome would be closer to about 2,000 calories a day. So it may seem pretty drastic. And when I talk about the number of 1,200 calories a day, that's just to maintain a healthy body weight. That's not to lose weight. That's not to gain weight. That's just maintenance. Because of the hypotonia, they aren't necessarily going to burn calories in the same way that you or I might. So they do need less calories than a typical individual would need. And the 1,200 calories is paired with, you know, exercising every day. It's not going to be super intense exercise, but, you know, going on walks or, you know, doing dance classes and that sort of thing. Those were the types of exercises that they would be doing. And we typically encourage individuals with PWS to do at least 45 minutes a day, or, you know, as much as about an hour and a half. And again, that's just to maintain a healthy body weight. Accessing more food than what is allotted in their regular diet can result in a range of health and behavioral problems. So as I said, it's very easy for them to gain weight. And then also accessing food with respect to behavioral problems. A lot of individuals with PWS have anxiety with respect to food. So if they're able to, say, convince someone to give them a granola bar outside of their regular diet, it can then cause that anxiety of, okay, who else can I talk to get that little bit of extra food? Next time I see that person, are they going to give me extra food again? So there's a lot of that anxiety that can cause behavioral issues. The most supportive thing that we can do for an individual with PWS is follow their diet. I know in our society, food and sharing food and celebrating with food are all common practice, but for individuals with PWS, it does make things quite challenging. So with respect to some of the other food-related behaviors, some of the other things are, you know, manipulating, lying, fixating, stealing, tantrums, aggression, and high anxiety. So the following are food-related behaviors that may be observed to varying degrees in individuals with PWS. It could be overeating of typical food, eating atypical food, so frozen food, spoiled food, pet food, food from the garbage, sneaking food into the home and hoarding it to eat at a later time, arguing or manipulating to get food, throwing tantrums, opportunistic food theft, so stealing from a store, stealing from school work, stealing money to purchase food, plan foraging expeditions in the neighborhood. So I've heard of stories of individuals with PWS knocking on their neighbor's door saying that they haven't eaten that day, that their parents haven't fed them, or a number of different things, just to see if they can get extra food from those around them. Other invasive food access. So what I'll talk about shortly is that fridges are locked, cupboards are locked to provide or to limit access to food outside of their typical meals, because they don't have that internal switch to tell them that they're not hungry. So they are trying to access food at all times. So they could break locks on cabinets and fridges. And then also in some cases, using verbal or physical threats and actual aggression to get food from their caregivers. So it's important to remember for individuals with PWS that the message of fullness never reaches their brain. They always feel hungry. There is no ability to stop when eating when food is present. It's not a learned behavior. You can't teach them not to want food at all times. The ability to concentrate on tasks when food is present can be extremely difficult. And there is a lot of increased anxiety with respect to food. So for example, when their next mealtime is, what they are going to be having for their next meal or snack, wondering if there's food present in the room, or what you're eating or drinking. So there's a lot of underlying anxiety. So as I mentioned, a family with PWS locks on pantries, cupboards, fridges, as well as alarm systems are pretty commonplace in a Prader-Willi household. And again, this may seem drastic if you're not familiar with Prader-Willi syndrome, but it is a means to help ensure that they stay healthy and maintain a healthy body weight. So I've talked a little bit about behavioral issues related to PWS. And I did mention perseveration earlier as well. Skin picking is pretty common. So if the individual with PWS does have a scab or dry skin, it's quite common that they will pick at them. They will create fresh wounds. Once they have a wound or a scab, it's really hard for it to heal properly because they will continue to skin pick. Oftentimes that's observed when they are feeling particularly anxious or bored. Temper tantrums are pretty common, as well as obsessive compulsive behavior. There does tend to be some stubbornness and rigidity and intolerance to changes to routine and schedule. So individuals with PWS do thrive when there is a regular routine and schedule. However, they struggle when there are changes to that routine and struggle. So I've talked a little bit about some of the common mental health issues that individuals with PWS may experience. The onset of mental health illnesses typically appears in their teen and early adult years. It is quite common for individuals with PWS to see a psychiatrist or psychologist, or have a behavioral therapist to help them throughout their lives. In the fall of 2023, our association, we conducted interviews with approximately 30 families that have adult children with Prader-Willi syndrome. Out of those interviews, we got some results that are quite staggering. So 100% of the parents indicated that their adult child with PWS suffers from challenging mental health issues, including psychosis, anxiety, depression, aggression or violent tendencies, stubbornness, oppositional behaviors, obsessive compulsive disorders, etc. And some individuals with PWS also had a dual diagnosis with autism. And 50% of parents indicated that their child has been hospitalized for physical or mental health issues. So it is quite staggering, the prevalence of mental health issues in this population. In terms of treatment, there is no cure for Prader-Willi syndrome. There are several research studies that are currently ongoing to help with some of the symptoms related to Prader-Willi syndrome. So there isn't a trial at the moment that would say turn on that portion of genes in chromosome 15. It's more so treatments that will address a particular symptom. So dealing with that hyperphagia, so that hunger element. And then currently right now, how people deal with Prader-Willi syndrome, as I mentioned, the younger children are on growth hormone therapy. There's strict supervision of daily food intake, physical therapy, hippotherapy, which is horseback riding, behavioral therapy, medications to reduce behavioral and mental health issues, as well as any other treatments for eye problems, orthopedic problems, sleep disorders, etc. So how this impacts a caregiver, I do think this is important to highlight as well. Prader-Willi syndrome can be very difficult for caregivers to deal with on a day-to-day basis. There was a study published in 2018 that reported that caregivers caring for a person with PWS reported that it negatively impacted their romantic relationship, their ability to work, as well as sleep and mood. 94% of caregivers reported at least mild feelings of anxiety or worry, with 54% of caregivers reporting moderately high to extreme anxiety. Another finding from the study was that caregivers who worked, 88% reported that they or their partners had to make changes to their work schedule at least once a month to assist with various things related to PWS. So my experience with families, I know there's a lot of appointments that individuals with PWS need to go to when you take into account all of the various elements that PWS impacts. So that's one area, as well as, behavioral issues at schools or things like that, and a caregiver needing to take time off of work to have their child home with them. So it can really play a role in caregivers' lives. In our OPWSA Fall 2023 interviews with families, 100% of caregivers reported high levels of stress and burnout when caring for their adult loved one when with PWS. So I know I've talked a lot about the challenges, which I think is really important to highlight, but I also want to touch on a few successes. So in Ontario, we know of individuals with PWS who have attended and graduated college. Now that is few and far between, but there have been some individuals that have done that. Some have had jobs or started their own businesses. Some can speak more than one language. I know of an individual who has participated and won medals at the World Special Olympics. And some individuals, again, although rare, can live independently, but with support. In order for an individual with PWS to lead a healthy life, they would still require support. It's important to remember that every individual with PWS has unique abilities and challenges, that their feelings of hunger are real, that their anxiety is real, and that PWS, like every syndrome and disability, affects each person differently. So I'll talk make a few points about OPWSA. So we are a nonprofit charity that was founded in 1982 by parents who had a child with PWS, and they were wanting to support other families. Through myself and our amazing network of families, we do provide a wonderful community with a goal to create rich, healthy, and meaningful lives for individuals with Prader-Willi syndrome. And we serve individuals with PWS throughout their life cycle, from diagnosis, early interventions, school, transitions to adulthood, residential options, and aging. Our organization is primarily supported by a community of donors and sponsors, and membership to our association is free. So some of the things that we do include crisis support, advocacy and awareness, PWS training for agencies and educators, access to free fridge locks for our Ontario members, We host an annual conference. We host family gatherings in various regions across Ontario which are more informal gatherings for parents and caregivers to come together and share experiences. We have a week of camp for adults with Prader-Willi syndrome that we host every year. We have a first trike program where we loan adaptive trikes and bikes to individuals with Prader-Willi syndrome of various ages. We have a residential options family support network, which is a group of the older parents that are working together to find residential solutions for their adult child with PWS. We have an animal care program, which is where we are searching for volunteer opportunities at local animal shelters where we can connect local individuals with Prader-Willi syndrome to volunteer. And we regularly communicate with our membership on social media, on our website, and through newsletters and various other updates. So I know that's a lot, but I'm open to questions.
First of all, thank you, Jennifer. That very informative, and I guess one of your roles is to increase awareness of this issue, right? And that's one of the I guess I can make the assumption we all can that's why you're here.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So do any of the committee members, do you have questions for Jennifer? Yes, Bob. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, Jennifer, have they found out the reason for what's causing this? I mean, a number of years ago, this was unheard of, but now it's quite prevalent.
Yeah, so well, it's still pretty rare of a disorder. There are 3 causes for how Prader-Willi syndrome can occur. What is behind those causes, I don't know if it's fully fleshed out. Some of it is genetic, but even the genetic portion is rare. So one of the ways that Prader-Willi syndrome occurs is that the father's gene isn't passed on in that particular region. In some cases, the father's gene is there, it's just not turned on. And in some cases, the mother's, there's 2 portions of that gene from the mother. So it occurs in a variety of different ways. And in one of those versions, as I said, it is genetically caused. So there could be a higher chance of recurrence. We do have some families that have, multiple children that have Prader-Willi syndrome. That is very rare. Out of our, 250 to 300 members, I know of, I think, 3 families where they have multiple children with Prader-Willi syndrome. And I know some families who have had, their adult children that were typical, ended up going through some testing to see if they were a carrier of Prader-Willi syndrome, or if there would be a more likely recurrence of it happening. But for the most part, it is pretty randomly occurs. It's not as a result of something that a parent did during pregnancy or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
So do we have other questions?
I just wanted to say that I wanted to make sure that we learned about syndromes like Prader-Willi syndrome, where we don't hear about it often. And that's why Jennifer is here, because we don't hear about Prader-Willi syndrome very often at all. And I think it's important that we learn about all of the syndromes and disorders that are in our world instead of just the common ones that we hear about. So thank you, Jennifer, for your time.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I think it really helps individuals with Prader-Willi syndrome, experience full and rich, meaningful lives the more that people are aware of the challenges and impacts that it has on their lives.
Exactly. Thank you very much.
Yes, great comment, Kelly. Yeah. And Jennifer, I guess it's certainly if someone has a family member with this issue, then obviously the awareness increases rapidly among that family and their friends, right? And my question relates to sort of what are the various methods of already getting your message out? Because I know you're obviously funding is an important part of that. So you're trying to get that message out to the broader community. And I know this is one of those methods, but also how else do you do that?
That's a great question. So I've been invited to a few different areas to be interviewed and explain a little bit more about Prader-Willi syndrome. I know there's a family member with PWS in Smiths Falls. So your TV in Smiths Falls has been very great at inviting us a few times a year, typically, to come on their program and talk about Prader-Willi syndrome. I've spoken on a podcast. There's other disability social media pages that have reached out for information about Prader-Willi syndrome. Outside of that, May is Prader-Willi Syndrome Awareness Month. So what we've been doing for the past, about 5 or 6 years is, or longer, is we every day share a fact about PWS. Because as you saw in today's presentation, it is, there's quite a few various areas that Prader-Willi syndrome impacts. So we share a daily fact about PWS, which we encourage the members in our community to then reshare on their own social media platforms to, again, hopefully broaden the reach, because families with PWS, it may be their tight-knit circle, their family, their closest friends that are aware of the diagnosis, but not necessarily something that's broadly talked about or broadly understood outside of that. So we find by sharing those little snippets of information, that's a way that we've been able to grow some of the awareness. We've also recently been in touch with some of the local MPPs through our Residential Options Family Support Network to again, help share some of the challenges that adult individuals with PWS are facing and some of the hurdles, and seeing how we can work together to make things a little bit easier for families. But always looking for more opportunities. So if you know of anything, please feel free to share it.
Great. Well, thank you. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much again, Jennifer, for taking the time today. Much appreciated. Can we have a motion to receive Jennifer's presentation? Moved by Brian, seconded by Kelly. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Great. Take care. Yeah. So we'll move on to the next item on our agenda, under matters for consideration. The first one is under 1A, which is well, it's all tied to a review of facility projects in Loyalist Township. And the first one is County Road 4, the park washroom facilities. So is it Adam? Are you going to be the one that leads this discussion here? Or someone else?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, so that's my project, County Road 4, 104 and 106, and it's parks and rec facilities. And just looking to put in the change room and a couple of washrooms, one which would be fully accessible, and then some accessibility access changes on the west side.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. I wonder if, Adam, if you could just perhaps share your screen and highlight the areas of the project that pertain to accessibility.
Sure.
Thank you.
Just one sec while we figure this out. Joe and I are together here on this. Can you see that now?
Yes,
Sorry. Okay, so this is the west side of the building. So we'd be looking at adding this facility here, change room, washroom in the back. The first washroom would be accessible. And then this entrance way here would be altered to be accessible, as well as in the back here, make sure we have accessible parking, ramp, as all part of that entrance.
I think I lost his,
yep. Are you? Oh, you still there? You okay? Yeah, I wasn't sure if we could. Does
Yeah,
any?
the audio keeps going in and out.
Yeah.
Are you able to hear me now?
Right now we are. Yes.
Okay. Can you see my cursor?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
So this entranceway right here, this is on the west side of the building. This entranceway would be the accessible entrance. So kind of back in here, we would have an accessible ramp, parking, a landing, and then as you come through this washroom here, this first washroom would be fully accessible. And then the other part of the project would be the change room and another washroom back here.
Okay. Do any of the committee members have questions on this proposal? So this is something you're planning to do that this year, are you?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I'm just looking, does it have the accessible washroom, sorry, does it have bars on, I can't show you, but like on the other side of the toilet that isn't against the wall? In case somebody needed those while transferring? Are they gonna be available?
Sorry, I'm just looking at this as well.
Usually the ones that I've seen recently will be positioned right where your cursor is.
Yep.
Right by the toilet, and they're you can move them up and down. So they can be moved out of the way if you don't need them, or put in place if you do.
Okay. Yeah, I can look into that for sure.
It's gonna be helpful for someone who has transferring issues to have them available to them if they need them.
Absolutely.
Okay. So Kelly, you're talking about the bar then that would run out parallel with the toilet beside it
Yes.
on the
yes,
wall straight out that you then can grab. Yeah. As you see your cursor in that direction.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Yes, Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, when you're talking about those bars, are they gonna be on both sides of the toilet? Because a lot of places, they're on the left-hand side.
Yeah, that's what I was making sure about, that we had them on both sides instead of
Okay.
just the one. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure of, Kelly. Yeah, okay. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Any other comments? And Jennifer, I have a question for you, just a procedural one. The question I have is, I know we would receive these comments. Do we make any recommended approval, or do we just provide comments?
I believe we can just make a recommendation to receive the information and add the comments, but I will double check and make sure that that's the correct way to do it.
Okay.
Make sure that the comments are
Yes.
part of it. Yes.
Okay. We see the comments. Yeah. Okay. We see the report and just make sure the comments are forwarded. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, Brian, do you have a comment, question, comment? Oh, you're muted now, Brian.
On mute.
Yep.
How's that?
Yep.
Is that
That's
better?
good. Yep.
Okay. I just wondered why both bathrooms couldn't be, I mean, you're a 2'6" entrance versus a 3 foot. You're only 6 inches short of having both of them an accessible bathroom. I'm just wondering why that wouldn't be a possibility.
Sorry, I'm just looking at the measurements here. I mean, it could be a possibility.
I'm assuming these walls are all in red or what you're building, is that correct?
Yep, it's all new and it's possible.
It would be beneficial to have more than one, actually. Yes, that's
Well,
possible.
that's kind of what I'm thinking, if it's a doable thing, because if one's tied up and occupied, I mean, that way they're either, right?
Right.
We can look at that. Sure.
And same as the change room, I mean, 2'6", you're only talking 3 inches off each wall. I don't know. I'm not a builder. That's not my department. It's just what I'm looking at. That's all.
Would you, yeah, without getting into too much detail, I think you may need that turning circle would be different. And the other washroom would have to be enlarged, I think.
It would have to be enlarged.
Have to change the size of it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Right,
because
the
there's
turning radius, yeah.
that turning circle isn't actually, I don't think, shown on this.
It is accounted for, but
Yes,
Nine
for,
foot
yeah, I
six.
think there's a 5 or 6. Oh, right there, you see it. There it is.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
it would be.
Yeah.
All right. My bad. Sorry, I
Sorry.
missed
No,
that.
that's okay. I just,
I did too.
it involves a bit larger washroom.
It would be. Is that something that is recommended right now, or?
I
So-
mean, if you can make it happen, sure, but if it's gonna be challenging, then
I think what we're hearing is that they're just saying you could take it under consideration, but it's really up to loyalists to decide. I mean, providing one obviously is a great thing. So
Yeah, one's better than
Yeah.
nothing for
one's
sure.
better than nothing, and providing two, well, if it was very easy to do, I think that's what the committee's thinking.
yes.
But yeah, okay.
Okay.
If we're only talking to enlarge the door 3 inches, that's no big deal.
No.
Yeah.
But it is a big deal when it comes to somebody with a wheelchair.
Yes.
Well, if it could, I would say have them look into it, Terry. And we go from there.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. Can we have a motion to receive this report and the comments that have been provided? Moved by Kelly, seconded by Bob. All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. So thanks very much on that one, Adam. Appreciate it. Then we move on to the next one, which is the Millhaven Administrative Building. So is it okay? It's Joe. Are you leading this one?
It is Joe, and yes, I'll be presenting. Sorry for the back and forth here. We're not
That's okay. You can go ahead.
Hopefully I'm sharing the correct screen. Are you saying kind of an artistic rendering of an office building?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so this site, there's two projects that are kind of blended in together. So there's the office building and then there's some additions to the garage. So this is located on County Road 4, and it's where our utilities division staff, most of the staff work out of, and with the office building, the bulk of the staff will be there. So the office building is mainly the administration staff, and then the next one we look at is the technical staff. So the folks that are outside doing all the water main and sewer stuff. So obviously this is a new building that we're building. Just trying to find the plan view. See which one's the best one to. It's probably this one. I apologize. It is a little bit busy with all the drawings or with all the line work. Essentially, the main entrance is here. There's a bit of a reception area. Around the perimeter are all the individual offices. There is one accessible washroom in the center, the turning circle, and then there's one other regular washroom in the building. I believe the intent is both washrooms would be universal washrooms. And then another entrance there. That's essentially the gist of it. It's not meant to be it does have a public reception area, but it's not generally meant to be a public facing building. But in the future, it is set up if people were to come there to meet with somebody, or had a complaint, wanted to talk to somebody in person. That's the Cold Notes version. I don't know if there's any questions from the committee.
Yes, thank you, Joe. Do we have any questions, comments? Joe, I have one question, but I think without looking at a door schedule. So I believe that the entire building is accessible, right? All the offices. They have
Yes.
like the larger doors, so you have anyone with a disability can, if they were an employee in there, they could, or had to access it, they can use them.
Yes, there is the door schedule.
I
So
think
it's
they're
3 feet 4 inches for all of the doors except door 17, which may be the non-accessible washroom.
Does
Hard
look
to-
very crowded. So it wouldn't be easy for someone with a walker to maneuver. Like, is that all just for our viewing, or is all that is actually in place, is what I'm trying to say, I guess. Because it does look very crowded. So someone who doesn't have like a manual chair or something, a mobility aid that's less than cumbersome would have quite a hard time to getting around. Like, is all that line work just for what you're doing, or is that actually in place?
Yeah, this is probably a little bit cleaner, this one. Sorry.
Okay, that's much better.
When,
Okay.
when I expanded it, it wanders off my screen, unfortunately. But yeah, so these would all be just scaling it up. The doors are 3'4". They're almost 4 foot hallways.
Okay, much better. Okay.
It's larger, and then there is a little bit of a, I don't know what the technical term is, but a yoink through here. But in general, it is straight.
Okay, that is much better than, okay. I was just panicking because I saw all that, the extra lines, and I wasn't sure about the
Yeah,
availability of space, so thank you.
some of the construction drawings get a little bit busy.
Okay, are there any other questions, comments?
Looks good.
Yep.
Note receive.
So have a note to, yes, motion to receive, moved by Brian, second by Kelly. And all in favor? Yep, carried. Thank you very much, Joe. Looks like an exciting project for the people who are going to be in that building.
Thank you. Yeah, they're looking forward to it. They'll be sad to leave us. We share nothing with them right now.
Yeah. So move on to 1C in the agenda, which is the Millhaven garage renovation. And Joe, it looks like you're up again.
Okay, so hopefully you're seeing a screen. Looks like a garage bay. So this project is on the same site as the office, so it's on County Road 4. This is where the technical folk work out of. So they're the ones that do all the outdoor water and sewer repairs and that kind of stuff. So all we're doing for this project is we're adding on a proposed bay addition. So it's an existing garage bay, as you can see, with the overhead doors. it's actually a bit longer. So the work we're doing is here, which is essentially one more bay. It's 25 feet wide or so, bay door. There's a roll-up door between the existing and the new bay door, and then a couple of men doors on the outside. These doors are not set up specifically as accessible doors, but it would be accessible through the and this again is also not meant to be really a public facing building. It's just more the technical stuff.
Okay, so is it a repair garage or is it something other
It
than?
would look like a repair garage. It's an old MTO maintenance garage, so it's the same as all the ones you used to see along the 401. So I think it's 6 bays long, and they used to park the snowplow trucks in them kind of front to back. So now utilities uses a number of bays for parking their vehicles. They have like pipes and valves, hydrants and things stored in the back of some of them. And the one bay they use as a workshop bay, but it's a bit open and not great. So this new bay will become their workshop bay and then workshop bay.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Joe. Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
Now, although these the doors you're putting in here, they're not really, it's not open to the public, but are they going to be the 3-foot wide doors? The man doors?
I suspect they're 3 foot wide. I don't think they'll have an automatic opener.
Okay.
Yeah, they didn't include a door schedule, but I'm 99% sure they're 3 foot wide, just because from a shop perspective, the wider doors are also beneficial for bringing things in and out. The biggest thing is they just would have their.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Because as you pointed out, it's not a public building, though. It's a.
Yeah, it's not meant to be a primary.
No.
I was just
Nice.
thinking in terms of employee though, right? If you needed an automatic door, would that be possible?
Yes,
If you had an employee that needed one?
if we had someone on staff, we could definitely add an automatic door, and then there is accessibility through the roll-up doors from the rest of the building.
Okay,
So yeah,
Good.
it could easily be retrofitted if it was.
thank you.
Nice. Do we
Yep.
need a note and receive
Yes.
on that one as well?
Yep. It looks there's no other questions. No. Okay, moved by Brian that we receive the report and the comments. Seconder? Bob. And all in favor? Carried. Thank you. Then we're on to item D under that one, which is the street reconstruction, and it's you again, Joe.
It is me. So this is a project that's happening in Odessa on Main Street, Potter, Creighton, and South. It's a joint project between ourselves, the developer, and the county. We all have sort of different pieces of it that we're working on. It's planned for construction this year. Key highlights, I guess, from an accessibility perspective is the addition of sidewalks on both sides of Potter Drive to tie into the existing subdivision sidewalks and then into what we have planned for Main Street. And then along Main Street, we're constructing a multi-use pathway. So it'll be a 3-meter wide asphalt pathway from the project limits, which is just west of Creighton Drive, for those familiar with Odessa, to the other project limits, which is the Pop-In restaurant at West Street, or Pop-In food store. So it'll be fully accessible path at each intersection that has the tactile plates and all of those requirements, the drop accessible curb. It also will line up with what the school board has planned for theirs. I'm not sure their design is finalized. It's not our project, but we will coordinate and tie into what they have. And then the last piece of it is The last piece of it will be an accessible crosswalk, so it's a fully signalized type C crosswalk for at the corner of West Street, and we'll do a little bit of work at this intersection as well. One thing I wanted to point out to the committee, just to see if there was any feedback. The crosswalk and the portion of the multi-use path in front of the school, there's a partnership with the school board. It's My Sustainable Communities, I believe is the title of it. So the students had some input on some of the design elements for the project. So they requested purple asphalt for the multi-use path on the south side, and they also one of the initiatives was a rainbow crosswalk for the crosswalk. So we've included for that. We did do some research, and we wanted to make sure we brought it to the committee if there was any concerns from a visual perspective with the rainbow crosswalk. It will have the standard crosswalk markings, so the white bars that are standard, and then the inside would be the stripes, and the stripes run perpendicular to the road. And they are offset from the curb a bit to make sure that they don't create a slip and fall hazard. So that's the project in a nutshell. There's a specific component that someone would like to see. Certainly happy to answer any questions, or I can bring up your drawings that have a more detailed view.
Yes. Thanks, Joe. So specifically, the rainbow crosswalk is that's one of the main questions. Plus, if we have any other comments, and then the sidewalk is the paved sidewalk is going to be purple. The new paved walk.
The paved portion and basically from Potter Drive, which is here, the pop in. So
that section, okay.
Your section or whatever. It's the section in front of the fire hall and the pop in for those that spend any time in the pest.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. So we have any comments on that, on the project, and or on specifically the crosswalk or the sidewalk coloring, or any concerns? Yes, Bob?
Yeah, it's a very ambitious program. I would hope that you can keep the cars off the paved sidewalk so that there is accessibility. And as far as the crosswalk goes, I'm easy either way on that one.
One point I will mention, because it's a very good point you raised, is there was a lot of issues with cars parking across the sidewalk and the shoulder and whatnot in the vicinity of the pop and in front of the fire hall. So we have changed it to raised curb, so it'll be the full height curb. So it'll discourage people in cars from parking on the sidewalk, which it'll improve accessibility because there won't be cars in the way, and also make it a little bit safer for pedestrians. And we're also changing, for those who are familiar with the pop in, their parking lot's a bit of a free for all as far as vehicles turning in. It will actually have a proper entrance now, so the traffic will be a bit more controlled again, make it more safe for pedestrians, and help divide them from the traffic.
Great.
Good idea.
Thanks, Joe. And Tracy, go ahead.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. I would just like to bring it to the committee's attention that for a crosswalk for accessibility, it is best to have both sides done in the white markings. And then they say for better accessibility, the colored rainbow colors should actually run parallel to those white. Rather than vertical.
That would be how it's currently shown.
Okay, great.
I was gonna say, I can't speak to any visual disabilities, so my recommendation would be to speak with multiple people who do have that, and consider their opinion as well, because I can't speak to it specifically, but I'm sure there are other individuals who would be willing to help you in that regard.
Perfect. Yes.
Okay. Yes, Brian?
Yeah, I know we've got a rainbow sidewalk or crosswalk here in town, right on Center Street, right by the town hall. And that was actually done by Napanee Pride, so I'm sure it's done properly, properly and accordingly. So if you want to take a look and see how that one's done, give you an idea what it would look like.
Great. Thank you, Brian, and Tracy's comments and both Kelly's. So there's some input for you, Joe.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that.
Are there any other questions or comments?
No.
Nope. No, none other. So can we have a motion to receive this presentation and the comments as well? Moved by Bob, seconded by Kelly. All in favor? Carried. And thank you, Joe, on that one. And you have one more, the fire hall renovation.
I have a full bill today. So I guess I'll do it two parts. So this project is a renovation project we have planned for the Odessa Fire Hall. So construction for this is anticipated in 2025. So it's a next year project. But we are going through the design and site plan approval phase now. Most of the project consists of the addition of a new bay on the east side of the building, on the side of the property. And there'll also be a new entrance constructed at the rear of the building off West Street, just so the trucks can access the building through the rear. No real changes to the front or the existing building, some minor cosmetic items. And it's not a very exciting floor plan, but essentially, actually, I don't know if you can see that. It's partly. This here is the actual portion for the addition. So there's one extra doorway here on the side, bay door on the front, bay door on the back, double doors from the old into the new, and essentially just a full drive-through bay. Inside the bay that it's replacing, they're creating a bit of a wash area. So this is where the firefighters can wash their breathing apparatus and clean up some of their stuff. So that'll be moved out into this area. It's currently in this room. This room will just be strictly for refilling their breathing apparatus bottles and stuff. So it just keeps things a bit bigger. That's sort of the cold notes for the project. It's not a whole lot. Oh, and one other thing is they are doing, if anyone's been to the Odessa Fire Hall, currently the entrance is to this side, and they are moving it to the front, so it'll be a straight in entrance into the vestibule, and that would be accessible.
Nice.
Yeah, that's generally it. If there's any questions,
Yep. Are there any questions for Joe? No.
No.
Guess none. So I have a motion to receive Joe's report on this one. Moved by Brian. Seconded by Kelly. All in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, Joe.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Great. So we'll move on to item 2, which is a sidewalk rehabilitation project by the county. And is it you, Jennifer? Are you doing this one?
Yes, thank you through you, Mr. Chair. So this project is just replacing some cracked and deteriorated sidewalk panels. So they will be lowered and the curb will slope as well. We'll be adding tactile marking strips for better visibility. And so those changes should all work to improve access for anyone who uses a walker or wheelchair or any other assisted device. That's really all I have for that one, and I'm happy to answer any questions the committee may have.
I had a question. So we're talking, I'm pretty sure that's clear. We're talking this one location only that you need to do this?
That's correct. Yes.
That's what-
Well, at this point, anyway,
At this
for this
point, yeah.
particular, yeah, that's
Yep.
right.
Thanks, Jennifer.
You're
Any
welcome.
questions or comments on the plan to change this one entrance and improve the access right? I guess this goes right down to the parking area. No comments, and we ask a motion to receive Jennifer's report. Moved by Brian, seconded by Bob. All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah.
And I guess you're on to the next one, item 3 on the agenda.
Yeah, that's me again.
Go ahead.
Okay, so this report is just highlighting and summarizing some of the items that were covered at the fall ONAC conference that I attended. There was a lot of great information at the conference. Angelique Cardinal actually also attended the conference virtually. Angelique, was there anything you wanted to add regarding that conference?
No, I just thought it was very informative, and I hopefully can attend the next one in person. But it was very well organized and lots of great information. I learned a lot.
Yeah, as did I. Thanks, Angelique.
You're welcome.
That's all I have for that one. Unless anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
No.
That's actually item 4 on the agenda, which is okay. We'll go back to 3 after that. But
Oh.
So
I'm
not
sorry.
a problem. No apology necessary, Jennifer. So that's on the fall conference highlights. Any questions or comments? No. We have a motion to receive Jennifer's report on the fall conference. Moved by Kelly, seconded by Brian. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So just back to item 3 on the multi-year accessibility plan.
So we'll backtrack to that item. So this is just some highlights with regards to the progress made at the county with our accessibility plan over the course of 2023. We are very proud of the accomplishments that we made towards our accessibility plan. And if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Yes, anyone have questions? Oops. Sorry, I was messing with my screen here. Anyone, any questions on that report?
No, pretty
It
straightforward.
looks like lots of good things going on.
Yeah.
That's great. So I have a motion to receive Jennifer's report. Moved by Brian, seconded by Kelly. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So then we're on to item 5, emergency preparedness for persons with disabilities presentation. Are you doing that one, Jennifer? Or?
I am, yes.
You are, okay. Thank you.
This was just a webinar that was actually put on by the City of Ottawa that provided a lot of information, really good information on emergency planning. And I've included in the report a link to the recording. If anybody's interested, they can find that there. They would like to watch it. And I don't have anything other than that to add. I'm happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Any questions?
I was just thinking that I remembered having to do one when I was in university, but I haven't done one since I've been home. So it gave me some thought into maybe going ahead and doing that. So thank you.
Yes, there's a lot of good information, Kelly.
Yeah, only comment I had, and I think sort of all the lower tier municipalities are obviously part of this or connected with this committee. So yeah, I want to look at it from our own township's perspective. It's there's some really good information there, and it begs the question as to how can we communicate it within our municipality. And I think the same is probably true for all municipalities. Try to get the message out. If everyone it helps in any way at all is a good thing to be prepared. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? Have a motion to receive this report? Moved by Bob, seconded by Brian. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. So we have I guess we're on to item under resolutions. Accessible Ontario by 2025, a resolution by Prince Edward County. So, yes.
I can speak to that if you like through you, Mr. Chair. So this resolution came forward from Prince Edward County regarding the creation of a municipal accessibility fund that would be provided by the province. Prince Edward County is looking for support for this resolution. So if the committee wishes, you could make a motion that endorses this resolution and further recommend that County Council support it as well.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, moved by Brian that we support this resolution and forward a recommendation to County Council to approve it or to support it, I guess. Seconder? Is it Bob? Okay, do we have comments on any other comments on it? Nope. None noted, all in favor?
Bob's, I think
Oh.
Bob's got a.
Do you have a comment, Bob? Sorry, you're muted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Looks like you're unmuted now.
Okay, are we back on the air? Only
You're-
thing I was going to say was, besides county council, what about the other municipalities be made aware of it?
Do you want to include that in your resolution, Brian?
Sure, yes, yep.
Okay. That we also forward it to the other lower tier municipalities in the county.
I think it might.
That works for you, Bob? That's what you're looking for? Yeah.
That works. Sorry about the glitch.
No.
That's okay.
And I think you were the seconder, weren't you, Bob? Yeah,
Yeah.
so you second that. Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Carried. Thank you. And the last one is matters for information on the Durham Accessibility Conference. So we have a motion to receive. Moved by Brian, seconded by Kelly. Were there any comments on that item? No. All in favor?
Yes.
Carried. Thank you. Before we adjourn, just to confirm, Jennifer, I think that the next meeting is it October the 22nd, unless something changes.
Yes, that's correct. We moved the meeting a little bit,
Okay,
changed the date, but yes.
just wanted to make sure we were all on
So
the
that's October what?
22nd.
22nd. Yes, I have that in here already. Yep,
Okay,
Mhm.
perfect.
great. Are there anything else anyone wants to bring up before we adjourn the meeting? Guess not. So thank you very much for taking some time this afternoon. Lots of some good presentations and some discussion and comments back on a number of projects. So that's what it's all about. So thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Have a motion to adjourn. Moved by Brian, seconded by
Sure.
Bob, okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes,
All
carried.
right,
The meeting is adjourned and thank you.
everybody get back out and enjoy that day.
Yeah, enjoy